So, for the unaware, this is a zongzi. They're basically this whole category of Chinese leaf wrap foods, generally, but not always, stuffed with sticky rice and fillings. Abroad, you can sometimes see them labeled sticky rice dumplings, a translation I'm not overly crazy about, or maybe Chinese tamales, which does feel a little better to me. They can come in sweet varieties, salty varieties, and my all-time favorite is this savory Cantonese sort stuffed with beans and pork fat. After boiling, the fat'll just melt away and incorporate into the rice like butter. And while at least here in Guangdong, they're an awesome snack or breakfast all year long, it's around this time of year, like right now, around Dragonboat Festival, that you see them everywhere. Now, the story for why Zongzi for Dragonboat is complicated and murky, and at this point, probably more folklore than history. The most common story is centered around a minister in the kingdom of Chu that offed himself after the state was conquered by the Qin Empire, with the Chu people throwing Zongzi into the river after him to apparently keep the body from being eaten by a dragon. As apocryphal origin stories go, it's not the most convincing we've ever heard, but it is true that the 5th month of the lunar calendar, when Dragonboat is, has generally always been associated with death and bad luck, and the 5th of that month, Dragonboat Festival, was a time when offerings would be made to stave it off. According to the Qiming Shu, what makes zongzi so uniquely suited as an offering is that the rice filling, as it coagulates during cooking, ends up resembling the primordial chaos of the universe. So apparently, consumption of zongzi would help produce positive divinations from the rituals that would be traditionally performed during that month. Either way, these days, the festival is basically just pure fun. A chance to hang out with friends and family, feast out on some early summer produce, watch some dragon boat races, and, of course, gorge on some zongzi. Now, a couple years back, we did already show you how to make some zongzi at home, which is always best, but it's undeniable that from-scratch zongzi are a bit of a process. But, luckily, zongzi are also something that you can just go to the supermarket and, purchase yourself, whether in China or at an Asian supermarket abroad. And while, granted, if you just took one of these packs and mindlessly nuked it, it probably wouldn't be all that impressive. If prepped right, they can still be super delicious. So consider this video your supermarket zongzi buying and prepping guide. Now, when you walk into the supermarket, you're probably going to come across one of two options: frozen zongzi or shrink wrap zongzi. While the shelf-stable sort can still be alright, all things equal, try to go for the frozen ones instead, because they tend to be a little closer in flavor to fresh. Further, zongzi can also be categorized as savory or sweet. Of the savory kind, the ones that seem to be the most common overseas, and coincidentally my personal favorite, would be the Cantonese style. In these zongzi, the rice is only lightly seasoned, and the filling's pretty much always a base of pork belly, though in the mix you can also sometimes see mung beans, salted egg yolk, so on and so forth. Besides those, another popular savory variant would be the Eastern Chinese style, from up in Fujian in the Jiangzhou area. Depending on where you live, these ones might actually be what you end up finding at your grocer, because they're also the go-to style in Taiwan. The fillings tend to be quite similar as the Cantonese one, but the rice itself is going to be a bit more heavily seasoned with soy sauce. Also, super delicious. Then, you've got the sweet sort. Of the sweet zongzi, probably the most classic style would be these guys called jianshuizong or huishuizong, which are first treated with alkaline in order to create this sort of sticky, uniform whole. When the Qiming Shu was talking about zongzi resembling the primordial chaos of the universe, it's this style of zongzi that they were referring to. But the rice here actually isn't sweet in and of itself. What makes these zongzi sweet zongzi tends to be the fact that you end up smothering it all with a bunch of either honey or syrup. Which brings us to category 2 of the sweet stuff, tianzong, which texturally are actually a lot closer to the salty varieties we mentioned before. These zongzi are packed with sticky rice or sometimes millet, and stuffed with a variety of different sweet fillings, ranging from red bean paste to candied dates to a whole smorgasbord of things. But of the four, if you're new to zongzi, my personal recommendation would be to try out a savory kind, stuffed with pork belly at first. Ideally one with mung beans too, if you can swing it, but I guess I am totally biased because that one is my favorite. Either way, To cook these guys then, whether shrink wrapped or frozen, you can either A, boil, B, steam, C, microwave, or D, pan fry, which we'll get to in just a second, but of the four, boiling is probably the most common, so let's start there. If you're working from frozen, conveniently, there's no need to thaw the thing. Just grab your frozen zongzi, dump it into boiling water, and let it boil. The timing of which, though, will completely end up being variable based off the zongzi you're cooking. It'll depend on a few things, the size, whether it's fresh or frozen, so definitely do check out our table of zongzi boiling times down in the description box. This frozen big guy here needed about 30 minutes in all. But then after that time, you can just open it up, and just like that, you've got yourself a zongzi. In Guangdong, you can also optionally either dip or sprinkle a touch of granulated sugar over this, in order to get a bit of a sweet, savory thing going on. To eat it though, well, you can obviously just tackle this however the hell you want to. What we'd recommend is starting with the corners of the zongzi at first, which are the bits that are the most intensely flavored from the leaves themselves. Then, after you finish that, just go nuts, smush it all together, and rub that rendered lard all over everything. The perfect bite, in my opinion. That said, besides boiling, another route to delicious savory zongzi that we want to teach you today would be pan frying. This route is especially common to see people taking with their zongzi leftovers around this time of year, but all year round it's crispy and awesome, and one of our favorite Cantonese breakfasts. To make them, quick word that if you're working from frozen zongzi, you'll obviously still need to boil it before frying, but feel free to cut the boiling length in half to save yourself a bit of time. But either way, there's two ways that you can pan fry these. First, you've got the smush fry method, and second, the slice and fry method. The smush fry method can be done with any shape of zongzi you got though, so maybe we can start there. So then, to a nonstick pan over a medium flame, pour in about a tablespoon of oil, and after a quick swirl, just toss on your zongzi. The goal here is going to be to smush this guy down into a pancake, which, fair warning, will take a little patience. To speed things up, you can also cut the zongzi in half, but either way, this stage here will end up taking you at least 2 to 3 minutes. Once your zongzi is flat enough though, where a lid can actually cover things, just cover things up so that it can all better warm through. Periodically uncover and continue to smush and shape the zong into a pancake, and after about 5 minutes or so, you should be looking at something relatively uniform like so. At this point, you can also optionally crack a beaten egg over the zongzi to further its pancakeification, and once that egg's completely set, flip and slide it back into your pan. Let that fry for another 5 minutes or so until the bottom's nice and golden brown, and flip it onto a plate. Optionally, sprinkle over a touch of granulated sugar when it's straight out of the pan, and enjoy it while it's nice and hot. Next up, the slice and fry method, which is also just as easy. To go this route, first unwrap your zongzi, then using the string that it came wrapped with, slice your zongzi into about 1 to 2 inch pieces. The reason for using that string here is that doing it this way gives you a nice clean cut and also helps keep the shape way better than a knife would. Then, to fry these, there's really not going to be all that much going on. Same nonstick pan, same medium heat, same tablespoon of oil. Just fry your zongzi pieces. For the first 5 minutes or so of frying, you can cover it to similarly help the rice soften a bit, but after that point, just let those go, flipping occasionally. After about 20 minutes total of frying, your zongzi should be nice and crispy like this, so take them out. Now, besides sugar, something else that I like doing with my pan-fried zong is serving it together with a bit of sweet chili sauce. It's something that I picked up from up in Fujian, where they like to smother their boiled zongzi with peanut sauce and a sweet Hokkien chili sauce called tianlajiang. And I don't know, I just think that the chili makes for a nice dip. This guy here is actually a Cantonese sweet garlic chili sauce, the same sort that you'd get at the street-style beef offal stands. So if this does sound up your alley, definitely go nuts. Something like a mango habanero or a sweet Thai chili sauce would also be pretty tasty too, I think, at least to me.
So, 粽子 shape rules. If you have the longer ones, you can either cut it up into pieces or you can mash it up and fry into a pancake. Doesn't really matter. But if you're having something like the pyramid shape or the Vietnamese like very squarish big, massive 粽子, then it will be best to just mash it up into a pancake. So there's no recipe this time, but check out the instruction in the description box. And a big thank you for everyone that's supporting us on Patreon. Happy Dragonboat Festival, and subscribe for more Chinese cooking videos.